Hi, welcome to the Corbettmaths video solutions to the Simultaneous Equations Practice Questions. In this video, I'm going to go through the video solutions to the Simultaneous Equations Practice Questions. But if you do need any extra help in simultaneous equations, if you go to corbettmaths.com/contents or scan this QR code and go down to video number 295, you can then watch the video tutorial on simultaneous equations. In this video, I'm going to focus on the answers to the questions. So question number one. Question number one says, solve the simultaneous equations 5x plus 3y equals 41 and 2x plus 3y equals 20. So we've got equation A and we've got equation B. And the great thing with these two equations, A and B, is they've both got 3y and 3y. That means if we take them away from each other, if we work out A take away B, we can then get rid of those 3y's. So those 3y's will be eliminated. Okay, so let's take them away from each other. So subtract, So we've got 5x take away 2x. Well, 5x take away 2x is 3x, that's 3x. 3y take away 3y is 0, so they cancel out. And then we've got 41 take away 20, and 41 take away 20 is 21. So we've got 3x equals 21. Now if we divide both sides of this equation by 3, we can then find out what x is. So divide by 3 and divide by 3. So 3x divided by 3 would just be x, and then 21 divided by 3 is 7. So x equals 7. Now we know what x is, we can substitute that into either A or B to find out what y will be. And I'm going to choose equation B because it's just got some smaller numbers, so it should be a bit easier to do. So let's sub x equals 7 into equation B. And when we do that, we get, well, substitute x equals 7. So we've got 2 times x, and 2 times 7 is 14. So we've got 14. And then we've got plus 3y equals 20. So we can now solve this equation and find what y is. So we want to get our y on its own. So we want to get rid of this 14 and then get rid of this multiplied by 3. So let's take away 14 and take away 14 and see what we get. 14 take away 14 is 0. So we're just going to be left with 3y on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, 20 take away 14 is 6. Now we've got 3 times y is equal to 6. Well, we don't want this times by 3, so let's divide both sides of this equation by 3. And we'll then get y equals, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we've got our answers. We've got that x equals 7, so x equals 7, and y equals 2. Now I like to check my answers just to make sure they're correct. Now if we substitute x equals 7 and y equals 2 into equation A, the one we didn't use earlier, then we can check it's right. So we've got, let's write check, so let's check in A. So we've got 5x, so 5 times 7 is 35. And then plus, and we've got 3 times 2, and 3 times 2 is 6, so plus 6, and it should be equal to 41. And let's just check it, 35 plus 6 is 41, so 41 equals 41. That's correct, so it's correct. So that means our answers are x equals 7 and y equals 2. So let's have a look at our next question, question 2. So question 2 says, solve the simultaneous equations 5x plus y equals 11 and 3x minus y equals 9. So let's label our equations A and B, just so whenever I'm talking about them, you know which one I'm talking about. So we've got equation A, which is 5x plus y equals 11. And we've got equation B, which is 3x minus y equals 9. Now, if we have y and minus y, if we add them together, they'll be equal to 0, such as, minus 1 plus 1 is equal to 0. So if we had y and minus y, we can add them together and get that's equal to 0. So if we add these two equations, A and B, together, we'll find that the y's cancel out or are eliminated. So let's write add, to say that we're adding them, add. So 5x plus 3x, that's 8x. Y plus minus y, well that's 0. And on the right hand side we've got 11 plus 9, and 11 plus 9 is equal to 20. So we've got 8x equals 20. Now we want to find out what x is, so let's divide both sides of this equation by 8. So divide by 8 and divide by 8. So we were dividing by 8 to get rid of the times by 8, so we'll just be left with x. And on our right hand side, and this is a calculator question, now 20 divided by 8 will be 2.5. So x is 2.5. Now let's substitute that into either equation A or equation B to find out what y will be. So let's substitute that into equation A. So if I sub x equals 2.5 into A, let's see what we get. So we've got 5 times x, so that's 5 times 2.5, and 5 times 2.5 is 12.5, so we've got 12.5 plus y equals 11. Now we want to find out what y is, so we don't want this 12.5, so let's take away 12.5 from both sides of our equation. So take away 12.5 and take away 12.5. So on the left hand side, when we take away the 12.5, we're just left with y. And on the right hand side, we've got 11 take away 12.5, so that'll be minus 1.5. So we're going to have that x equals 2.5 and y equals minus 1.5. So there are our solutions, x equals 2.5 and y equals minus 1.5. And let's check our answer, so let's check in B. So equation B here. So we've got 3 times x, that's 3 times 2.5, which is 7.5. We've then got take away y. Now y is minus 1.5, so we're going to minus 1.5, and hopefully that's equal to 9. And let's just check. If we had 7.5 and we minus, that's going to be add. If we had 7.5 plus 1.5, that is 9. So we get 9 equals 9, which is correct. So we now know that our answers are definitely correct. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 3. So question number 3 says, solve the simultaneous equations x plus 7y equals 64 and x plus 3y equals 28. Now the great thing here is we've got an x and an x in both equation A and equation B. So if we take away the equations, if we do A take away B, we'll find out what y is. So let's say we're going to subtract, so sub, and then put a line underneath it. X take away x is 0. 7y take away 3y, that's 4y. And on the right hand side we've got 64 take away 28, and 64 take away 28 is equal to 36. Now we want to find out what y is, so we don't want this multiplied by 4, so let's divide by 4 and divide by 4. So we're going to get that y is equal to 9. So we've now got the y is equal to 9. So let's substitute that into equation B. So sub y equals 9 into B. And when we do that, we should hopefully be able to find out what x is. So if we substitute y is equal to 9 into this, we're going to get x plus, and then we've got 3 times y, so that's 3 times 9, which is 27, equals 28. So we want to find out what x is, so let's take away 27 and take away 27. And when we do that, we get on our left hand side, we'll just be left with x. And on our right hand side, we've got 28, take away 27, so that's 1. So we've got our answers. We've got that x equals 1 and y equals 9. So let's check our answer. So let's check in, now we've used B, so let's check in A. So in A, we're going to have x, which is 1, plus 7 times y, and 7 times 9 is equal to 63, and that's equal to 64. And 1 plus 63 is 64, so we get 64 equals 64, which is correct. So that's it. So our answers are correct. So x equals 1 and y equals 9. Okay, let's check our next question. So question 4 says, solve the simultaneous equations 4x minus 4y equals 24 and x minus 4y equals 3. So we've labelled our equations A and B. Now we want to cancel out our x's or our y's. Now if we look here, we've got minus 4y and we've also got another minus 4y. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract those from each other, because whenever we subtract those, well, minus 4y minus 4y, but that's going to be minus 4y plus 4y, which is 0. Because they're the same as each other, we take them away, the equations. So we've got 4x take away x, so 4x take away x is 3x. Minus 4y minus 4y, or subtract minus 4y, well, it's going to be minus 4y plus 4y, which is 0. And then on the right hand side of this equation, we're going to have 24 take away 3, which is 21. So we now know that 3x equals 21, so if we divide by 3 and divide by 3, we find that x is equal to 7. So we found out what x is, so let's substitute that into one of our equations, and I'm going to choose the top equation here, equation A, so sub x equals 7 into A. And when we do that, we get, well, 4 times x is 4 times 7, so that's going to be 28. Subtract 4y equals 24. Now we want to find out what y is, so we want to get rid of our 28 and our minus 4. So let's take away 28 from both sides of our equation. So take away 28 and take away 28. So that will leave us on the left hand side, we had 28 minus 4y. We took away the 28, so that will just leave us with minus 4y. And on our right hand side, we had 24 take away 28, so it's going to be minus 4. Now we want to find out what y is. Now this is minus 4 times y. So if we divide both sides by minus 4, we'll just find out what y is. So let's divide both sides. So divide by minus 4 and divide by minus 4. Now minus 4 divided by minus 4 is 1, or we're dividing by minus 4 to get rid of the minus 4, so we're just left with y. And on the right hand side, we've got minus 4 divided by minus 4. Well, negative divided by negative is a positive, and 4 divided by 4 is 1, so the answer would be 1. So y is equal to 1 and x is equal to 7. So x equals 7 and y is equal to 1. So there are our answers. Let's check in B. So check in B. So B is x, which is equal to 7, minus 4 times y, and y is equal to 1, so 7 minus 4 is equal to 3. 7 minus 4 is 3, so we've got 3 equals 3, so that's correct. So that's our solutions, x equals 7 and y equals 1. So question number 5 says, solve the simultaneous equations 2x plus 4y equals 14 and 4x minus 4y equals 4. So let's call our top equation A and our bottom equation B. And if you'll notice here, we've got 4y and minus 4y. Now if I've got minus 4y and I add 4y, that's equal to 0. So let's add our equation. So let's add these two equations and see what we get. So 2x plus 4x, that's equal to 6x. 4y plus minus 4y, or minus 4y plus 4y, that's 0, so they cancel out. And then on the right hand side, we've got 14 plus 4, that's equal to 18. So we've got 6x equals 18. Now we want to find out what x is, so we want to get rid of this multiplied by 6. So let's divide by 6 and divide by 6, and we get x equal to 3. So we've now got x equals 3. We're going to substitute that into one of our equations. I'm going to choose the top one. So let's sub x equals 3 into a and see what we get. So that's going to be 2 times x, that's 2 times 3, that's 6, plus 4y equals 14. We want to find out what y is, so we want to get rid of the 6 and this multiply by 4. So let's get rid of the 6 first of all. So take away 6 and take away 6. So our left hand side, we took away 6 to get rid of our 6, so we'd just be left with 4y. And on our right hand side, we had 14, take away 6, that's equal to 8. So let's now divide by 4. So if we divide both sides by 4, so divide by 4 and divide by 4, 4y divided by 4 is just y, and on our right hand side we've got 8 divided by 4, which is 2. So we've got x equals 3 and y is equal to 2. So they should be our solutions. So let's check in B. So check in B. So we've got 4 times x, that's 4 times 3, which is 12. And then we're going to take away 4 times 2, and 4 times 2 is 8, and that should hopefully be equal to 4. 12 take away 8 is 4, so we've got 4 equals 4, which is correct. So our answer is x equals 3 and y is equal to 2. Let's have a look at question number 6. Okay, question number 6. So David buys 2 scones, or scones, and 2 coffees in a shop, and the cost is £18. Ellie buys 3 scones, or scones, and 2 coffees in the same shop, and they cost £22. Form 2 equations and solve to find the cost of each scone and each coffee. So let's let the cost of each scone be S and the cost of each coffee be C. And let's make 2 equations. So our 2 equations would be David buys 2 scones, so that's 2S, and 2 coffees, so plus 2 coffees, and the cost is equal to £18. So that would be equal to £18. Ellie buys 3 scones, so 3S, plus, and then 2 coffees, 2C, and that's equal to £22, so £22. And let's call our equations equation A and equation B. Now here we've got 2s and 3s, but we've got 2c and 2c. So if we take the 2 equations away from each other, the c's will cancel out. Now just looking at this a minute, if I took them away as they are, and if I done a take away b, I would have 2s take away 3s, which is minus s. I'm actually going to write equation a beneath equation b, so I'm just going to write equation a out again just beneath it. So 2s plus 2c equals 18. And I'm going to do equation b take away equation a, just so that whenever I take them away from each other, I'm left with positives, or nice values. So let's subtract them from each other. So that's going to be b take away a. So 3s take away 2s is s. I've then got 2c take away 2c, or that's 0. We take them away so that the c's cancel. And on the right hand side we've got 22 take away 18 is 4. So we've got the cost of a scone is equal to £4. So that's great. We've got the cost of a scone is equal to £4. Now let's find the cost of a coffee. So let's substitute s equals 4. So sub s equals 4 into a. So let's substitute s equals 4 into equation a. So we've got 2s, so that's going to be 8 plus 2c, so 2c equals 18. So we've got our equation. We want to find out what c is, so let's get rid of this 8. So take away 8 and take away 8. On our left hand side we'll be left with 2c, and on our right hand side we'll be left with 18 take away 8, which is 10. And let's divide by 2 and divide by 2, and we get that c is equal to 5. So the cost of a coffee is £5. So the cost of a scone is £4, and the cost of a coffee is £5. And let's just check in equation b. So check in b. So that would be 3. So that'd be 3s, which is 3 scones, which is £12, plus 2 coffees, which is £10, should hopefully be equal to £22, and 12 plus 10 is equal to 22. So we've got 22 equals 22, so we are correct. Okay, our next question, question 7. So question 7 says, Alan and Connor have £6.70 in total. Alan has £1.70 more than Connor. Let A be the amount of money that Alan has, and let C be the amount of money that Connor has, and set up a pair of simultaneous equations and solve to find out how much each person has. So first of all, we're told that Alan and Connor have £6.70 in total. So, and we've been told to let the amount of money that Alan has be equal to A and Connor C. So that's going to be A plus C, the amount of money they have added together, is equal to £6.70, or 670 pence. And we're also told that Alan has £1.70 more than Connor. So that means if we take the amount of money that Connor has away from the amount of money that Alan has, it's going to be equal to £1.70. So Alan take away Connor would be equal to, if we take them away, £1.70, or 170 pence. And let's label our equations, and I'm going to call them equation 1 and equation 2 here. You notice that I've changed that from A and B just because we're using an A in the question. And Here we could take the equations away from each other. We could do equation 1 take away equation 2 and the a's would cancel, or you could add the two equations to each other, because then if you added c and minus c, because minus c plus c is 0. So I'm actually going to add these equations. I'm going to add equation 1 and equation 2 and see what we get. So, and I've changed our amount of money into pence. You could deal in pounds. Okay, so let's add the equations. A plus a is 2a. Minus c plus c, or c plus minus c, is 0. And then on the right hand side here we've got 670 plus 170 is equal to 840 pence, or £8.40. So we now know that 2 times a, 2 times the amount of money that Alan has, is equal to £8.40, or 840 pence. So if we divide by 2 and divide by 2, we can find out what a is. And that would be, half of 840 would be 420. So that means that Alan has £4.20. So Alan has £4.20. And I'll just write that down here. Alan has £4.20. So we found out how much money Alan has. Now let's find out how much money Connor has. So we know that Alan is £4.20, or 420 pence. Let's substitute that into equation 1. So if we substitute that, sub a equals 420 pence into 1, we can then see that that's equal to 420 plus c is equal to 670. And if we take 420 away from both sides, so take away 420 and take away 420, we get that c is equal to 250, or £2.50. So that means that Connor receives £2.50. And we can check our answer. We can check in 2. So if we do a take away c, it should be 170. So check in equation 2. So a, which is 420, take away c, which is equal to 250, should be equal to 170. And it is, so we get 170 equals 170, so we're correct. So that means that Alan has £4.20, or 420 pence, and Alan has £2.50. And if we go back up and check our question, they have £6.70 in total, and Alan has £1.70 more than Connor. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 8. So question number 8 says, solve the simultaneous equations 6x plus y equals negative 2, or minus 2, and 6x minus 3y is equal to 14. So let's label our equations, equation A and equation B. And we want to find out what x and y are, so let's eliminate or get rid of or cancel out our x's, because we've got 6x and 6x. So if we take the two equations away from each other, subtract, that will be 0. So 6x take away 6x is 0, fantastic. We've then got y subtract, or minus 3y. Now y minus 3y would be the same as y add 3y, which is 4y, because whenever you take away a negative, it increases. So we're going to do y minus 3y, which is 4y. And then on the right hand side, we've got minus 2 take away 14. And minus 2 take away 14 would be equal to negative 16. So we've got 4y equals negative 16. Now we want to find out what y is, so let's divide by 4. So let's divide by 4 and divide by 4, and we're going to get that y is equal to, now 16 divided by 4 is 4, so minus 16 divided by 4 will be minus 4. So we find out what y is minus 4. Now we want to find out what x is, so let's substitute that into one of our equations, and I'm going to substitute it into our top one. So we've got sub y equals minus 4 into equation A. And that would give us, well, we've got 6x, so 6x. Then we've got add y. Now we're adding minus 4. Now when you add a negative number, it's the same as taking away, so it's going to be minus 4. Instead of writing plus minus 4, we're just going to write minus 4. And that's equal to minus 2. Now we want to find out what x is, so let's get rid of this minus 4. So let's add 4 to both sides of this equation, so add 4 and add 4. On our left-hand side, we're just left with 6x. And on our right-hand side, minus 2 plus 4 is equal to 2. So we've got 6x equals 2. Now this is a calculator question, so we're now going to divide by 6 and divide by 6. So that's going to give us, on our left hand side, we're just going to be left with x. Now right hand side, you can actually do this without a calculator and just write, well, 2 divided by 6. Well, 2 divided by 6 is the same as 2 over 6, just as a fraction. And then you could cancel it down to be a third, and that's what I would do. I would just write down that's equal to a third. Alternatively, you could do 2 divided by 6 in your calculator and get that's equal to a third. You could write 0.33333 and so on, or 0.3 with a little dot above it, but in this question I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. So x is equal to a third and y is equal to minus 4. And let's check our answer. Now we've used A, so let's check in B. So check in B. So we've got 6x, so that's going to be 6 times a third. You've got your calculator, so you could do 6 times a third, or a third of 6, which is 2. So 6 times a third would be 2. Or another way to think about it is you had 3 thirds, that's a whole, another 3 thirds, that's a whole, so that's 2. And then we've got take away 3 times y. Now y is equal, so we've got take away, and 3 times y is going to be 3 times minus 4. Now 3 times 4 is 12, so it's going to be minus 12, so we're going to have minus 12, and that should hopefully be equal to 14. So we've got 2 minus 12, well, that's going to be 2 plus 12, and that's equal to 14, equals 14. So we're correct. So that's it. So we've got our answers. X equals a third, and Y is equal to -4. And we've checked it, and we know we're right. Okay, our next question. Okay, question 9. Now, in question 9, the questions are getting a little bit more challenging here because so far we've just had Y's and Y's, or 3Y's and 3Y's, or 2X and -2X and things like that. They're nice and easy to cancel out. Here, if we look at our equations, we've got 2X plus 4Y equals 26, and 3X minus Y is equal to 4. Now, if we look at our X's, we've got 2X and 3X, so they're not as easy to cancel out. We're going to have to do some sort of multiplication, perhaps, if we wanted to cancel out our X's. And also with our Y's, we've got 4Y and -Y. They're not the same, or, you know, it's not like 5 and 5 or 5 and -5. It's not something we can just get rid of in one step. So let's label our equations A and B. So A and B. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply equation B, this equation, by 4. If I multiply this equation by 4, instead of having -Y, we're going to have -4Y. And then we can cancel out the y's using equation A. So let's do 4 times equation B. And if we do 4 times equation B, we get that's equal to 4 times 3x, so that's going to be 12x. 4 times -y is going to be -4y. And 4 times 4 is equal to 16. So we've multiplied everything here by 4. And then we've still got our equation A, so let's write equation A beneath it. So that's going to be 2x plus 4y is equal to 26. So we've got two equations, one with -4y and one with 4y. And if we add them together, that will be 0. So let's put our line beneath it and put add, because we're going to add them. 12x plus 2x is 14x. -4y plus 4y is 0, so that's great. And on our right hand side, we've got 16 plus 26, that's equal to 42. So we've got 14x equals 42. Now we're going to divide by 14 and divide by 14. So that's going to give us x equals, and the multiples of 14 are 14, 28, 42, so that's 3, so x equals 3. Now let's substitute that into one of our equations, and I'm going to choose our top equation. So let's sub x equals 3 into A. So whenever we substitute x equals 3 into our top equation, we've got 2 times x, which is 2 times 3, so that's 6, plus 4y equals 26. Now we want to find out what y is, so we want to get rid of this 6 and multiply by 4, so let's get rid of the 6, so take away 6 and take away 6, so we're left with 4y equals 20, and divide by 4 and divide by 4, and we get that y is equal to 5. So we've got that x equals 3 and y is equal to 5. And let's check in B, so check in B, and that would be equal to 3 times x, so 3 times 3 is equal to 9, take away y, which is 5, and that should hopefully be equal to 4. 9 take away 5 is 4, so we've got 4 equals 4, which is correct. So we're done. Fantastic. So question 9, we've got that right too. Okay, question number 10. Okay, question number 10, we've got solve the simultaneous equations 3x plus 2y equals 16 and 2x minus 3y equals 2. So let's label our equations A and B, so A and B. Now again, if we look at these, we've got 3x and 2x, and we've got 2y and minus 3y. So we can't just add them or take away the equation, so we're going to need to multiply them by something. Now here, our last pair of simultaneous equations was quite nice because we just multiply equation B by 4, and that gave us our 4y and our minus 4y. But if we look at question number 10 here, we're actually going to need to multiply both equation A and equation B by something to then get the same value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel out my y's, and I'm going to multiply equation A by 3, and that will give me 6y. And in terms of equation B, I'm going to double equation B, or multiply equation B by 2. So let's do 3 times A and see what we get. So 3 times A, 3 times 3x would be 9x. Multiplying 2y by 3 will give me plus 6y, and that's equal to, and 16 times 3 is equal to 48. So we've multiplied equation A by 3. Now let's do 2 times equation B. And if we do 2 times equation B, multiply all of this by 2, we're going to get 4x. And then instead of minus 3y, well, we're doubling it, so it's going to be minus 6y. And that's equal to 4, because we're multiplying everything here by 2. Now if we have a look here, we've got 6y and minus 6y, and they will add together to give us 0. So let's add these two answers and see what we get. So let's add them. So 9x plus 4x is 13x. Now 6y plus minus 6y, or minus 6y plus 6y, that's 0, so that's great. And on our right hand side, we've got 48 plus 4, that's equal to 52. So if we divide by 13 and divide by 13, we'll find out what x is. So that will give us 52 divided by 13, well 13, 26, 39, 52, so that's 4. So x equals 4. So let's write that down, x equals 4. So we'll find out what x is equal. So let's substitute our x equals 4 into either equation A or equation B. I'm just going to choose equation A. So sub x equals 4 into A. Let's see what we get. Well, 3 times x, 3 times 4 is equal to 12, so 12 plus 2y is equal to 16. So now we want to find out what y is equal to, so let's take away 12 and take away 12. So that leaves us with, on our left hand side, 2y, and on our right hand side, 4. And let's divide by 2 and divide by 2, and we get that y is equal to 2. So we've got x equals 4 and y is equal to 2. And let's check our answer. Let's check in B. So check in B. So 2 times x, that's 2 times 4, which is 8. And then we've got take away 3 times y. Y is equal to 2, so 3 times 2 is equal to 6. So we've got 8 take away 6, and that should hopefully be equal to 2. 8 take away 6 is 2, so we've got 2 equals 2, and that's correct. So that's our answer, x equals 4 and y is equal to 2. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. So question number 11 says, solve the simultaneous equations 3x minus 2y equals 14 and x plus 2y is equal to 10. Now this one's quite nice actually, because we've got our minus 2y and our 2y. We can just add these equations to each other, so let's just add. 3x plus x is 4x. We've then got minus 2y plus 2y, that's 0. And then on our right hand side, we've got 14 plus 10, and 14 plus 10 is 24. So we've got 4x equals 24. We can now divide by 4 and divide by 4 and get that x is equal to 6. So let's substitute our x equals 6 into one of our equations. Let's label them A and B. I'm going to substitute it into B here. So let's say sub x equals 6 into B and see what we get. So x is 6, so that's going to be 6 plus 2y equals 10. So let's take away 6 and take away 6, and that leaves us with 2y equals 4, and divide by 2 and divide by 2, so we get y equals 2. So we've got x equals 6 and y is equal to 2. So let's write that down, x equals 6 and y is equal to 2. And let's check in A, so check in A. So we had 3 times x, that's 3 times 6, which is 18, minus 2 times y, 2 times 4, 2 times 2 is equal to 4, and that should be equal to 14. 18 take away 4 is 14, so we've got 14 equals 14, and that's correct. So that's it, so x equals 6 and y is equal to 2. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 12. So question number 12 says, solve the simultaneous equations 3x plus 5y equals 1 and 2x minus 3y is equal to 7. Now here I'm looking at this and I'm thinking again I'm going to need to multiply both of the equations by a number, so I'm going to call this equation A and this equation B. And I'm going to cancel my y's. I could cancel my x's if I wanted to, but I'm going to cancel the y's, and I'm going to multiply the equation A by 3 to get 15y. I'm going to multiply equation B by 5 to get minus 15y, and then I can add the answers together, and then that will cancel out the y's. So let's do 3 times A and see what that is. So 3 times this equation, 3 times 3x would be 9x. 3 times 5y would be plus 15y, and that is equal to 3 times 1 is equal to 3. So that's equation A multiplied by 3, so that's 9x plus 15y equals 3. And then if we multiply equation B, which is 2x minus 3y equals 7 by 5, then that should then give us minus 15y, so let's do 5 times B. And 5 times this equation, 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times minus 3y would be minus 15y, and that's what we wanted. And then we've got 5 times 7, and that's equal to 35. Now we want to add the two equations together, the two answers together, to cancel out the y's. So let's add. So 9x plus 10x, that's going to be equal to 19x. So 15y plus minus 15y, that's 0, or minus 15y plus 15y is 0. And then we've got 3 plus 35, that's equal to 38. And then if we've got here 19x equals 38, I can see here if I divide by 19 and divide by 19, we're going to get x equals 2. Fantastic. Now let's substitute that into one of our equations. I'm going to substitute this into equation 1. So sub x equals 2 into equation A. And if we do that, we get 3 times x, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 5y equals 1. Now let's take away 6 and take away 6. So that will leave us with 5y equals, and 1 take away 6 would be minus 5. So we've got 5y equals minus 5. Let's divide by 5 and divide by 5. So 5y divided by 5 is just y. And then on the right hand side, we've got minus 5 divided by 5. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. A negative divided by positive is a negative, so it's going to be minus 1. So answers are x equals 2 and y is equal to minus 1. And we can check our answer. Let's check by substituting these into B. So check in B. So check in B. And that would be 2 times x. So that's going to be 2 times 2, 4. We've then got minus, and then we've got 3 times y. So 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. So 4 minus minus 3 should hopefully be equal to 7. And 4 minus minus 3, well, that's 4 plus 3, and that's 7. So that's correct. So 7 equals 7. That's it. Okay, let's have a look at question number 13. So question number 13 says 3x minus y equals 23 and 2x plus 3y equals 8. So whenever I look at these equations, I can see I can cancel out the y's if I multiply the top equation by 3. So let's call this equation A and this equation B. And let's multiply equation A by 3, so 3 times A, and see what we get. So whenever I multiply this equation by 3, well, 3 times 3x would be 9x. Then I've got minus y, and I'm going to times it by 3, so it's minus 3y, and that's equal to, and 23 times 3 is equal to 69. So multiplying everything in this top equation A by 3 gives me 9x minus 3y equals 69. Now the great thing here is if I write equation B beneath it, so just write equation B as it is beneath it, 2x plus 3y equals 8. We've got our minus 3y and our 3y. So if we add these equations together, they will cancel out, so add. 9x plus 2x is 11x. The y's will cancel out, and then we're just going to be left with, on the right hand side, 69 plus 8 is equal to 77, which is great because it's in the 11 times tables. Now, it's not always a whole number or a nice fraction, but you know, and you can find that out whenever you check your answer at the end by substituting them in. But you know, it's giving me the impression that we might be along the right lines here. So let's divide by 11 and divide by 11 and see what we get. 11x divided by 11 is equal to x, and on the right hand side we've got 77 divided by 11 is equal to 7. So we've got x equals 7. Now let's substitute that into one of our equations. I'm going to substitute it into equation B here. I'm going to sub x equals 7 into B and see what we get. And when we do that, we've got 2 times x. Well, 2 times 7 is 14, so we've got 14 plus, and then we've got 3y, so that's going to be 3y is equal to 8. So now let's find our y by getting rid of our 14. So take away 14 and take away 14. So that'll leave us with 3y equals. Now 8 take away 14 is minus 6, and then divide by 3 and divide by 3. 3y divided by 3 is just y. And on the right hand side, well, 6 divided by 3 is 2. So minus 6 divided by 3 would be minus 2. So our answer is x equals 7 and y is equal to minus 2. And that's it. And we can check our answer. Let's check in equation A. So check in A and see what we get. So we've got 3 times x, that's 3 times 7, which is 21. We've then got minus whatever y is, which is minus 2. So we've got 21 minus minus 2, and that should hopefully be equal to 23. So 21 minus minus 2, that's the same as adding 2, so that's 23 equals 23, and that's it. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at question number 14. So question number 14 says, solve the simultaneous equations 2y minus 5x equals 9 and 4y plus 3x equals 5. Now here I'm going to cancel out the x's, so I'm going to multiply the top equation, equation A, by 3 to get minus 15x, and I'm going to multiply the bottom equation, B, by 5 to get 15x. So whenever we do that, we get, well, if we do 3 times A, let's see what we get. So 3 times this equation, 3 times 2y is 6y. 3 times minus 5x will be minus 15x, and then if we multiply 9 by 3, we get 27. And then in terms of equation B, well, we want to get 15x again, so let's multiply everything by 5, so 5 times B. 5 times 4y, that's 20y. 5 times 3x, that's going to be plus 15x. And then 5 times 5 is equal to 25. So that's great. We've got our minus 15x and our 15x. We can add the two equations together, and that will cancel out our x's. So 6y plus 20y, that's 26y. The minus 15x and the 15x will add together to give us 0, and on the right hand side we've got 27 plus 5, that's going to be equal to 52. So if we divide by 26 and divide by 26, we're going to get that y is equal to 2. So we found out what y is, now let's find out what x is. So if we sub y equals 2 into, and we can choose either of these equations, A and B. I'm going to choose equation B, so into B, and see what we get. So it's going to be 4 times 2, and 4 times 2 is 8, so we've got 8 plus 3x equals 5. Let's take away 8 and take away 8 to get that's equal to 3x equals, and 5 minus 8 will be minus 3. And let's divide by 3 and divide by 3, so we get x equals, and minus 3 divided by 3 is equal to minus 1. So we've got x equals minus 1 and y is equal to 2. And let's check in A, so check in A. So 2 times y, well 2 times 2 is equal to 4. We've then got minus 5 times whatever x is. So x is equal to minus 1. 5 times that would be minus 5, so we're going to be minus and minus 5. And hopefully that's equal to 9. 4 minus minus 5, that's 4 plus 5, which is 9, equals 9. Correct. Fantastic. Okay, question 15. Okay, so let's have a look at question number 15. So question number 15 says, solve the simultaneous equations 2x plus 9y equals 43 and 3x plus 2y equals 7. So again, let's label our equations A and B. Now we could multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by 2 and then cancel the x's. Instead I'm going to multiply the top equation by 2 and I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by 9 and I'm going to cancel the y's. But you can use either approach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply top equation a by 2, so a multiplied by 2, and that would give me, if I multiply everything in a by 2, that would give me 4x plus 18y equals 86. And then if I multiply equation b by 9, so b multiplied by 9, that would give me 9 times 3x is 27x, 2y times 9 is equal to 18y, and 7 multiplied by 9 is equal to 63. So we've multiplied the equation a by 2 and equation b by 9. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take them away to cancel out the y's, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to write this 4x plus 18y equals 86 beneath, just because that will keep the x's positive of when we subtract them from each other. So 4x plus 18y equals 86, and we're going to subtract. So 27x take away 4x, that's equal to 23x. 18y take away 18y, well that's 0, and then on the right hand side we've got 63 take away 86, and that's equal to negative 23. So we've got 23x equals negative 23, so let's divide by 23 and divide by 23. And that will give me 23x divided by 23, well that's just x. And then on the right hand side we've got minus 23 divided by 23, well negative divided by a positive is a negative, so it's going to be a negative, and 23 divided by 23 is 1, so that would be x equals negative 1. Now we've found what x is equal to, let's find what y is. So let's substitute that into equation b. So sub x equals minus 1 into b. And when we do that we get, well, 3 times x, 3 times minus 1 would be minus 3, plus 2y equals 7. Now we want to find what y is, so we want to get rid of this minus 3 and we want to get rid of this 2. So let's add 3 to both sides, so add 3 and add 3. Well, minus 3 plus 3 is 0, so we'll just be left with 2y on the left-hand side. And then 7 plus 3 is equal to 10. Now let's divide by 2 and divide by 2. And when we do that, we get y is equal to 5. So we've got x is equal to negative 1 and y is equal to 5. So that's our answers. X is equal to negative 1 and y is equal to 5. Now let's check it. Let's check in A. Check in A. And whenever we substitute x equals negative 1 and y is equal to 5 into A, we will get, well, 2 times x, 2 times minus 1 is minus 2, plus 9y, which would be 9 times 5. 9 times 5 is equal to 45, and then that should hopefully be equal to 43. Minus 2 plus 45, well, that's going to be 43, is equal to 43. So that's it, we're correct. So x is equal to negative 1 and y is equal to 5. Let's have a look at our next question. So this time we've got solved the simultaneous equations 5x minus 3y equals 24 and 2x minus 4y is equal to 4. So I'm going to cancel out the y's here. I could cancel out the x's, but I'm going to cancel out the y's. So I'm going to multiply a by 4 and I'm going to multiply b by 3. Because if I multiply this equation by 4, I will get minus 12y. And if I multiply this equation by 3, I'll get minus 12y. And then I can take them away. Because minus 12y take away minus 12y will give us 0. Because minus 12y minus minus 12y would be minus 12y plus 12y. And that's equal to 0. So let's multiply a by 4. So 4 times a and see what we get. So if we multiply everything by 4, we will get 20x minus 12y, multiplying both of these by 4, equals, and 24 times 4 will be equal to 96. And then we're going to do 3 times equation b, and 3 times this equation would be 6x minus 12y equals 12. So we've got two equations, both of them with minus 12y and minus 12y, so that's great. So we can now subtract them to cancel out those minus 12y's. So subtract. So we've got 20x take away 6x, that's going to be 14x. Minus 12y minus minus 12y would be minus 12y plus 12y, so that's 0. And then on the right hand side, we've got 96 take away 12, that's equal to 84. Now we want to find out what x is, so we're going to divide by 14 and divide by 14. And when we divide both sides by 14, we'll get, on the left hand side, 14x divided by 14 is just x. And then 84 divided by 14, that would be 6. So x is equal to 6. Now we know what x is, we can substitute that into either a or b. I'm going to substitute it into equation b, so sub x equals 6 into b and see what we get. So whenever we substitute x equals 6 into b, well, 2 times x would be 2 times 6, that's 12, minus 4y is equal to 4. We want to find what y is, so let's take away 12 from both sides, so minus 12 and minus 12. 12 take away 12 is 0, so we'll be left with minus 4y equals, and on the right hand side, we've got 4 take away 12, that's going to be minus 8. Now we don't want minus 4 times y, we just want y, so let's divide both sides by minus 4. So divide by minus 4 and divide by minus 4. Minus 4y divided by minus 4 would just be y. And on the right hand side, we've got minus 8 divided by minus 4. A negative divided by negative is a positive, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So y would be equal to 2. So that means our answer should be x equals 6 and y equals 2. And let's just check in A. So check in A. So 5 times x, that's going to be 5 times 6, that's 30. Minus 3 times y, that's 3 times 2, which is 6, should hopefully be equal to 24. 30 you take away 6 is equal to 24, so we've got 24 equals 24, which is correct. So the answer is x equals 6 and y equals 2. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. So question 17. So question number 17 said, a museum sells adult tickets or child tickets, and Forzia buys 4 adult tickets and 1 child ticket for £120, and Sammy buys 5 adult tickets and 3 child tickets for £171. Work out the cost of each type of ticket. So let's call an adult ticket X and a child ticket Y. So that will give us our equations. Our equation for Forzia, well, that will be 4x plus y is equal to 120. And for Sammy, we're going to have 5x plus 3y is equal to 171. Now here we're going to have to multiply one of our equations. Let's label them A and B, so equation A and equation B. And if we multiply equation A by 3, we're going to get 3y, and that's going to be really useful. So let's do that. Let's do 3 times equation A. So 3 times 4x, that's 12x. 3 times y, that's going to be plus 3y. And then 3 times 120 would be 360. So if we multiplied equation A by 3, and equation B would be 5x plus 3y equals 171. Now if we take away these equations, we're then going to cancel out our y's and we'll just be left with x's, and that means we can find out what x is, which is the price of an adult ticket. So 12x take away 5x, that's going to be 7x. 3y take away 3y, well that's 0, and then on the right hand side we've got 360 take away 171, that would be 189. So we get 7 times x is equal to 189, so if we divide by 7 and divide by 7, we'll find what x is. So x equals, and if we do 189 divided by 7, that's equal to 27. So that means that an adult ticket is £27. Now if we substitute that into equation A, we then find out the cost of a child ticket. So x is equal to 27, so sub x equals 27 into equation A. And when we do that, we get, well, it's going to be 4 times x, so that's 4 times 27. And 4 times 27 is 108, so we get 108 plus y is equal to 120. And if we take away 108 and take away 108, we get that y is equal to 12. So that means that a child ticket is £12. And we can check that in equation B, so check in B. And when we do that, 5 times x, 5 times 27 would be equal to 135, plus 3 times y would be 36, and that should hopefully be equal to 171. So 135 plus 36 would be equal to 171, and that's equal to 171, so that's correct. So we know that an adult ticket is equal to £27, and a child ticket is equal to £12, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at question number 18. So question number 18, it's a calculator question, and we've been asked to solve the simultaneous equations 4x plus 3y equals 7.5 and 3x minus 5y is equal to 10.7. And let's label our equations A and equation B. Now here, if we look at the x's or y's, I'm going to cancel out the y's, so I'm going to multiply equation A by 5 and equation B by 3. And that'll give me 15y and minus 15y, and then I can add those answers together. So we're going to do 5 times equation A, and if we do 5 times equation A, that would give me 20x plus 15y is equal to 37.5, so that's 5 times equation A. Now we're going to do 3 times equation B, so 3 times B, and if we multiply equation B by 3, we will get 9x minus 15y, and then 10.7 times 3 would be equal to 32.1. So we've multiplied equation A by 5, and we multiply equation B by 3. Now we've got our answers, we're going to add them together to cancel out the y's. So let's add and see what we get. So 20x add 9x would be 29x. 15y add minus 15y, well that would be 0. And then 37.5 plus 32.1 would be equal to 69.6. Now we know 29x is equal to 69.6. If we divide by 29 and divide by 29, we should then hopefully find out what x is. And then x would be equal to, and if we divide 69.6 by 29, we get that's equal to 2.4. So x is equal to 2.4. Now we know what x is. Let's substitute that into one of our equations. And I'm going to substitute it into our top equation. So I'm going to substitute this x equals 2.4 into A. So sub x equals 2.4 into A. So we've got 4 times 2.4. And 4 times 2.4 is 9.6, so 9.6 plus 3y is equal to 7.5. Now what we want to do is we want to find out what y is, so let's take away 9.6 and take away 9.6. So on our left hand side that will leave us with 3y, and on our right hand side we've got 7.5 take away 9.6, that would be equal to minus 2.1. Now that's 3 times y, we don't want 3 times y, let's divide by 3 and divide by 3, and we'll get that y is equal to minus 0.7. So we've got x is equal to 2.4 and y is equal to minus 0.7, and let's write that in, 2.4 and minus 0.7. And let's check our answer, let's check in B. So whenever we check this in equation B, well, we've got 3 times x, so that's going to be 3 times 2.4, that's 7.2. Then we've got minus, and then we're going to do 5 times minus 0.7. And 5 times minus 0.7 will be minus 3.5, so we've got 7.2 minus 3.5, and hopefully that's going to be equal to 10.7. And if we do 7.2 minus 3.5, that's 7.2 plus 3.5, which would be 10.7. So we get 10.7 equals 10.7, so we know we are correct. So our answers are x equals 2.4 and y is equal to minus 0.7. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 19. So in question number 19, this time we've got something slightly different. We've got 2y equals 8x plus 11, and then we've got 2x plus 8y equals 27. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm actually going to rearrange this top equation so that it's in a similar format where we've got so many x's plus or minus so many y's equals a number. So what I'm going to do is, let's write it out, 2y equals 8x plus 11. Now I'm going to keep the x's here, I'm going to keep the x's positive, so I'm going to minus 2y and minus 2y. And when we take away 2y from both sides, on the left hand side that would be equal to 0, and on the right hand side we would have 8x plus 11 minus 2y. So we've now got 0 equals 8x plus 11 minus 2y. Now let's keep our 8x and our minus 2y here. Let's get rid of this 11. So let's take away 11 from both sides of the equation. So we would get minus 11 equals, because 0 take away 11 is minus 11, equals, and then we'll just be left with 8x. Now we've taken away 11 to get rid of the 11, so we'll just be left with minus 2y. So we have got, if we write out in a similar format, we would have 8x minus 2y equals minus 11. So I've just rearranged this top equation to be this one. Now if we look at our two equations, let's call them A and B, so A and B. If we look at equation A and B, you can see that equation A and B, you've got 8y and we've got minus 2y. Now if we multiply equation B by 4, we will have minus 8y, and that means we can add our 8y and our minus 8y to get 0. So let's do 4 times B and see what we get. So if we multiply this by 4, we would get 4 times 8x, so that'll be 32x. 4 times minus 2y would be minus 8y, and 4 times minus 11 would be minus 44. So that's multiplying B by 4. Let's leave it as it is because that has 8y. That's fantastic. So we've got 2x plus 8y equals 27. And now we can add our equations together because that means that our minus 8y plus 8y will be 0. So we'd just be left with an equation with x's in it. So let's add our two equations. Add. So 32x plus 2x would be 34x. Minus 8y plus 8y, well that's 0. So they cancel out. That's great. And then we've got minus 44 plus 27 minus 17. Now we want to find out what x is, so let's divide by 34 and divide by 34. And this is a calculator question, so that's quite nice. So 34x divided by 34 would just be x. And then if we do minus 17 divided by 34, that's minus 0.5. So x is equal to minus 0.5. Let's now substitute that into equation A and see what we get. So A is sub, so let's write that down, sub x equals minus 0.5 into A. So we'd have 2 times x, so that's 2 times minus 0.5, so 2 times 0.5 is 1, so 2 times minus 0.5 would be minus 1 plus 8y equals 27. Now we want to find out what y is, so let's get rid of our minus 1, so let's add 1 and add 1. So we're going to get 8y is equal to 28, and then divide by 8 and divide by 8, and we find that y is equal to 3.5. So we know our answers now. We know that x is equal to minus 0.5 and y is equal to 3.5. And again, we can check our answers by substituting those into our equation we were given, either equation B or the one at the top. I'm going to use the one at the top. So 2 times y, 2 times 3.5 is 7, equals 8 times x, well, x is equal to minus 0.5, so 8 times 0.5 is 4, so 8 times minus 0.5 would be minus 4 plus 11. Minus 4 plus 11 is 7, so we get 7 equals 7, so we're correct. So our answers would be x equals minus 0.5 and y equals 3.5. So question number 20 says, find the coordinates of the point where the straight lines below cross. So we've got the line y minus 3x equals 3, and we've got x minus 2y equals 4. Now whenever I look at this, what I notice is I've got the y and the x beneath it, and the minus 3x and the minus 2y beneath it. I'm just going to slightly rearrange this top equation. So rather than writing y minus 3x, I'm going to write minus 3x, and the y was positive, so plus y equals 3. So just bringing that minus 3x to the front and the positive y after it. So I've got minus 3x plus y equals 3, and I'm going to call this equation the x minus 2y equals 4, A. So we've got equation A, and we've got equation B beneath it, which is what we got after we rearranged the top one. Now we've got two equations, A and B, so we've got x minus 2y equals 4, and minus 3x plus y equals 3. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to multiply equation B by 2. That will give me 2y, because I know that minus 2y plus 2y is 0. So we're going to do 2 times B and see what we get. So 2 times equation B would be minus 3x times 2 would be minus 6x, and 2 times y would be plus 2y. And then if I multiply 3 by 2, that's equal to 6. So we've now got 2 times equation B, and let's write equation A beneath it. So equation A was x minus 2y equals 4. So I've now got two equations, one with 2y and one with minus 2y. So we can then add them together, and that will cancel out the y's. So minus 6x plus x, well, that would be minus 6 plus x would be minus 6x plus x would be minus 5x. The 2y plus minus 2y, well, they add together to give you 0. And then we've got 6 plus 4, and 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. So we've got minus 5x equals 10. Let's now divide both sides by minus 5. So divide by minus 5 and divide by minus 5. Minus 5x divided by minus 5 would just be x. And on the right-hand side, we've got 10 divided by minus 5. A positive divided by negative is a negative, so it's going to be negative. And 10 divided by 5 is 2. So x is equal to negative 2. Now let's substitute that into equation A and see what we get. So equation A, if we sub x equals minus 2 into A. So we've got x, which is minus 2. So minus 2 minus 2y equals 4. So that's our equation. Let's solve it to find out what y is. So let's add 2 to both sides. So add 2 and add 2. Minus 2 add 2 is 0. So we're left with minus 2y equals 6. And then we don't want minus 2y. Let's divide by minus 2 and divide by minus 2. Minus 2y divided by minus 2 would just be y. So we're going to get y equals, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 6 divided by minus 2 would be minus 3. Now in this question, we were asked to find the coordinates of the point. Remember, the coordinates come with the point x, y. So that would be minus 2, minus 3. So the coordinates of the point where these two straight lines meet each other, this y minus 3x equals 3 and x minus 2y equals 4, would be the point minus 2, minus 3. And we can check our answer by substituting those back into the top one, and let's just see what we get. In y minus 3x equals 3, let's see what we get. So y, which is minus 3 times x, well, that's 3 times minus 2, which would be minus 6, and hopefully that's equal to 3. Minus 3 minus minus 6 would be minus 3 plus 6, which is 3, so we get 3 equals 3, so we're correct. So those two straight lines will meet at the point, they will intersect at the point minus 2, minus 3. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 21. So question number 21 says, solve the simultaneous equations 3a plus c equals 8 and 2a minus c equals 7. Now what's great about these two simultaneous equations is we've got our c and our minus c, so we just need to add the equations together. So let's just add them, and that means that the c's will cancel out because minus c plus c is 0. So 3a plus 2a is 5a. C plus minus c, well, that's 0, so they just cancel out. And then we've got 8 plus 7 is equal to 15. Now we've got 5a equals 15, so let's divide by 5 and divide by 5, and we get that a is equal to 3. So we've now got a is equal to 3. Let's substitute that into one of our equations. We've got equation A and equation B. Let's substitute it into equation A. So 3a plus c. So that's 3 times a, 3 times 3, which is 9, plus c equals 8. Now we want to get the c on its own, so let's take away 9 and take away 9. So we get c equals, and 8 take away 9 would be minus 1. So that means that our answer would be a equals 3 and c equals negative 1. And let's check in B. So check in B. So 2a, that's 2 times 3, which is 6, minus c, which is minus 1, so minus minus 1, and hopefully that'll be equal to 7. 6 minus minus 1, well, that's 6 plus 1, which is 7, so you get 7 equals 7, so that's correct. Fantastic. So a equals 3 and c equals minus 1. Question number 22. Okay, let's have a look at question number 22. Now, question 22 is a calculator question, and we can see that the numbers are quite large here. We've got 9x minus 6y equals 114, and 5x minus 9y is equal to 30.75. So whenever we look at these equations, let's look at our y's. We've got minus 6y and minus 9y. Well, if we look at 6 and 9, the lowest common multiple of 6 and 9 would be 18. So let's make this minus 18y and this minus 18y also. So let's call them equation A and equation B, and let's work out 3 times A. So 3 times A and see what we get. So whenever we multiply equation A by 3, that's equal to 27x minus 18y, and that would be equal to 342 whenever you multiply 114 by 3. Now we're going to multiply equation B by 2, so 2 times B, and see what we get. So whenever we multiply all this by 2, we're going to get that's equal to 10x minus 18y equals 61.5 whenever you multiply 30.75 by 2. Now whenever we subtract these equations from each other, they will cancel out because minus 18y minus 18y will be minus 18y plus 18y, which is 0. So we've got 27x minus 10x, that's 17x. The y's cancel out, and then on the right hand side we will get that's equal to 280.5. So we've got 17x equals 280.5, so let's divide by 17 and divide by 17 and see what we get. So 17x divided by 17 is just x, and 280.5 divided by 17 is 16.5. So x is equal to 16.5. Now let's substitute that into equation B to see what we get. So sub x equals 16.5 into B. So it'll be 5 times x, and 5 times 16.5 would be 82.5. We've still got our minus 9y, and that will be equal to 30.75. Now we want to find out what y is, so we want to get rid of this 82.5, so let's take that away. So minus 82.5 and minus 82.5. And then we'll be left with, on the left hand side, we've taken away 82.5 to get rid of the 82.5 here, so we would just be left with minus 9y, and on the right hand side we'd be left with minus 51.75. Now we don't want minus 9 times y, so let's divide by minus 9 and divide by minus 9. So minus 9y divided by minus 9 would just leave us with y, and on the right hand side we've got negative divided by a negative, so that's going to be a positive, and 51.75 divided by 9 would be equal to 5.75. So our answer would be x equals 16.5 and y is equal to 5.75, and that's it. And we can check our answer. We can check our answer by substituting both of those into equation A, and if you want to do that, feel free to do that now. So x equals 16.5 and y equals 5.75. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 23. So question number 23 says, solve the simultaneous equations 2y equals x plus 10 and y equals 2x minus 7. So let's call them equation A and equation B to begin with. Now, we've got 2y here and y, so if we multiply equation B by 2, we'll get 2y as well. And that'll be quite useful because if we had 2y and 2y, we can take them away to get 0. So let's do 2 times b and see what we get. So 2 times equation B would be 2 times y, which is 2y, equals 2 times 2x would be 4x, and then minus, and 2 times 7 is 14. So we've got 2y equals 4x minus 14. And then we've also got equation A. So we've got our two equations. Now let's take them away and see what we get whenever we cancel out the y's. So 2y take away 2y is 0. And on the right hand side, we've got 4x take away x. Well, that would be 3x. And then we've got minus 14 take away 10. And minus 14 take away 10 will be minus 24. So our answer is 0 equals 3x minus 24. Now we want to get x on its own, so let's add 24 to both sides. So add 24 and add 24. So on the left hand side, 0 plus 24 is 24. And on the right hand side, well, we had 3x minus 24. We added 24 to get rid of the minus 24, so we're just going to be left with 3x. So we've got 24 equals 3x. Let's divide by 3 and divide by 3, and that gives us 24 divided by 3 is 8 equals x. So x equals 8. That's great. Now we know what x is. Let's substitute that into one of our equations, and I'm going to substitute it into equation B. So sub x equals 8 into B and see what we get. So we've got y equals, and 2 times x, well, that's going to be 2 times 8, which is 16, minus 7. So y equals, and 16 take away 7 is 9. So y equals 9. So we've got that x equals 8 and y equals 9. And well, let's check that. Let's check that in equation A. So check in A. So we've got 2 times y, 2 times 9 is 18, equals, and on the right hand side we would have 8 plus 10, and that's 18 equals 18, so that's correct. So our answers are x equals 8 and y equals 9. Okay, let's look at our next question, number 24. Okay, so question number 24 says, solve the simultaneous equations 4x minus y equals 17 and y equals x minus 2. So whenever we look at these equations, what I notice is I've got our x's and y's on the left hand side of this top one, but on this bottom one we've got y, and then on the right hand side we've got x. So we're going to look at this bottom equation, this y equals x minus 2. Now because the one at the top has x's and y's on the left hand side, I'm going to get rid of this x on the right hand side. So I'm going to take away x and take away x. Now that would be, well, if I had y take away x, that'd be y take away x. And on the right hand side I took away x to get rid of the x, so that's just going to leave us with negative 2. Now, our equation here, we've got y take away x equals minus 2. The equation we were given has 4x minus y. I'm just going to change the order of this y take away x. So we've got y minus x. So we've got minus x. So let's actually write that at the front. So minus x. And the y was positive, so I'm going to write plus y. If you've got y minus x, it's the same as minus x plus y. And then that's equal to minus 2. So let's write that beneath. So we've got our minus x plus y equals minus 2. And then we also have our 4x minus y equals 17. Now if we look at these equations, we can see one's got y and one's got minus y. So that's great. We can just add them together. And if we add them together, the y's will cancel. So let's add them. So minus x plus 4x, that's going to be 3x. Our y plus minus y, well, that's 0. And then on the right-hand side, we've got minus 2 plus 17. Well, minus 2 plus 17 is 15. So we've got 3x equals 15. So let's divide by 3 and divide by 3, and we get that x is equal to 5. Now we know that x is equal to 5. Let's substitute that into one of our equations. So let's substitute it into our bottom equation here. Our y equals x minus 2. So let's call that equation A and that equation B. So sub x equals 5 into B. And see what we get. So we've got y equals x, which is 5, so 5 minus 2, and 5 minus 2 is 3, so we get y equals 3. So that means that x equals 5 and y equals 3. And we can check in A, so check in A. So we've got 4x, that's 4 times 5, which is 20. Take away y, which would be take away 3, equals 17. And 20 take away 3 is 17, so we've got 17 equals 17, so that means we're done. Perfect. Question number 25. Okay, let's have a look at question number 25. So question number 25 says 3 bananas and 2 pears cost £2 and 7 pence, and 5 bananas and 3 pears cost £3.33. Find the cost of 10 bananas and 10 pears. So first of all, let's write down two equations. So we've got 3 bananas. Let's call the cost of a banana x and the cost of a pear y. So that's going to be 3x plus 2y equals. And now we've got £2.7p, so I'm going to call that 207. I'm just going to change it into pence. And then our next equation would be 5 bananas. So that's going to be 5x plus, and then we've got 3 pears, and that's 3y. And that would be equal to 333 pence. 333 pence. So we've got our two equations. Now we could cancel out our x's or y's here. So we could times the top equation by 5 and the bottom equation by 3, and that would give us 15x for both of them. Alternatively, we could multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by 2, and that would give us 6y and 6y, and then we could subtract the equations. I'm going to cancel the x's here, so I'm going to multiply the top equation by 5, I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by 3. And that will give us, multiplying the top equation by 5, 3x times 5 would be 15x, 2y times 5 would be 10y, so that's plus 10y. And then finally we've got 207 times 5 would be equal to 1,035, or £10.35. Now we've got then our second equation, our 5x plus 3y equals 333, and we're going to multiply that by 3. So that would be 15x, because 5x times 3 would be 15x, then plus, and then we've got 3y times 3, that's going to be 9y, and that's going to be equal to 333 times 3 would be 999. So we've got our two equations. Now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract them from each other. So I'm going to write sub. So 15x take away 15x, where they cancel out. Then we've got 10y take away 9y, that's 1y or just y. And then we've got 1035 take away 999, that would be equal to 36. So that means that y, the cost of a pear, is 36p. Now let's find the cost of a banana. So let's substitute this into one of our two equations, and I'm going to substitute it into the top one. So we've got 3x plus, and instead of 2y, 2 times 36 is 72, so plus 72 is equal to 207. Now we want to solve this equation and find x. So let's take away 72 and take away 72, and that would give us 3x equals, because 72 take away 72 is 0, so we're just left with the 3x. And on the right hand side we have 207 take away 72, that's equal to 135. So it means that 3 bananas cost £1.35 or 135p. So let's divide by 3 and divide by 3, and we'll find that x is equal to, and 135 divided by 3 is equal to 45. So it means the cost of a banana is 45p. So now we find the cost of a pear, 36p, and the cost of a banana, 45p. We now can find the cost of 10 bananas and 10 pears. So let's find the cost of 10 bananas. So that's going to be 10 times 45. So 10 times 45 is equal to 450 or £4.50. In terms of the 10 pears, each pear is 36p. So that's 10 times 36. And 10 times 36 is 360 or £3.60. So we've now got the cost of the bananas and the cost of the pears. So let's add them together to find the grand total. Well, 450 plus 360 is equal to 810. So that's £8.10p. So the cost of 10 bananas and 10 pears is £8.10p. Okay, let's have a look at question number 26. So question number 26 says, solve the simultaneous equations of 5x plus 2y equals negative 34 and 4x minus 3y is equal to negative 41. So we could cancel out the x's or y's here. I'm going to cancel out the y's, so I'm going to multiply the top equation by 3 to give us our 6y. I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by 2 to get negative 6y. And then when we add them together, they will become 0, so they'll cancel out. So I'm going to multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by 2. So multiplying the top equation by 3 would give us 5x times 3 is 15x. Then we've got plus 2y, we're going to times that by 3, that gives us the 6y that we want. And then we've got negative 34, we're going to times that by 3, that's equal to negative 102 or minus 102. Now we've got our second equation and we're going to times that by 2, we're going to double everything, so it'll be 8x. Our minus 3y, we're doubling that, so it'll be minus 6y, and that's what we wanted, and that's equal to, and double negative 41 would be negative 82. So we've got our two equations now, and we've got 6y and minus 6y. So if we add those two equations together, the y's will cancel out. So let's do that. 15x plus 8x, that's 23x. We've got 6y plus minus 6y, or minus 6y plus 6y, that's 0, so they cancel out. And then we've got negative 102 plus negative 82. Now it's a calculator question, so you could type that in, and that would give you your minus 184. Alternatively, another way to look at it is if we had minus 102 and we add negative 82, we're going to take away 82, so that'll bring us down to minus 184. So we've cancelled out our y's, so we've now got 23x equals negative 184. If we divide by 23 and divide by 23, we'll then find that x is equal to negative 8. So that means that x is equal to negative 8. So we've now found x, which is negative 8. Now we just need to substitute that into one of our equations to find out what y is. So let's substitute that into the top equation. So we've got 5x, and 5 times minus 8 would be minus 40. So minus 40 plus 2y is equal to negative 34. So now we just need to solve this. So we want to get the 2y on its own. So we want to get rid of this minus 40. So let's add 40 to both sides. So add 40 and add 40. Our left hand side would just become now, well, we had negative 40, add 40 at 0. So we're just left with 2y. And on the right hand side of the equation, we had negative 34. We added 40, so that'll bring us up to 6. So we've got 2y equals 6. Now if we just divide by 2, we're going to get the y is equal to 3. So we've got x is equal to negative 8 and y is equal to 3. And let's check that. Let's check that in the second equation. So 4x, that's 4 times minus 8, that's minus 32. And then we've got subtract, and then we've got 3 times y, that's 3 times 3, which is 9. And that should be equal to negative 41. Negative 41, let's just check it. Minus 32, take away 9 would be minus 41. So you've got minus 41 equals minus 41, so we know we're right. So that means that let's write our answer in, that x is equal to negative 8 and y is equal to 3. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, let's have a look at question number 27. So question number 27 says, Albie is training for a marathon and he jogs either route A or route B. And during April, he jogs route A 9 times and route B 5 times. Route B is 8 miles longer than route A, so route B is 8 miles longer than route A, and in total he jogs 89 miles in April. In May, he will start jogging route C, and route C is 20% longer than route B, and we've been asked to work out the length of route C. Now if we have a look at this information here, we can actually create some equations, because we're told he jogs route A 9 times and route B 5 times, and in total he jogs 89 miles. So we can make an equation there. He does route A 9 times, so that's going to be 9A, and he does route B 5 times, and in total it's 89 miles. So if we add 5b, that's going to be equal to 89. So we've got an equation there. 9a plus 5b is equal to 89. Now, we're also told that route B is 8 miles longer than route A. So that means if we do B, take away A, that's going to be equal to 8 because the difference between them is 8. So B, the longer one, take away the shorter one, is equal to 8. So we've got two equations. We know that 9a plus 5b is equal to 89, and we've got the b subtract a is equal to 8 miles. Now if we solve these simultaneous equations, we'll find a and b. And then we're told that root c is 20% longer than b. So once we know b, we can increase it by 20%, and then that will be the length of root c. So we need to solve these simultaneous equations. Now these look slightly different than the simultaneous equations we've been looking at so far, because normally whenever we've been looking at them, we've had so many x's plus so many y's, and so many x's subtract so many y's. But here we've got our a and our b, and then we've got our b and then our a. Now let's rearrange these slightly. So we could rearrange the second one here and write, instead of b subtract a, we could write negative a plus b, because obviously negative a, we've got minus a, so that goes at the front, and then we could write our plus b. Instead, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to rearrange the top one. So instead of doing 9a plus 5b, we could say it's 5b plus 9a, just swapping those two around. So that's what I'm going to do here, okay? I'm going to write 5b plus 9a is equal to 89, and below that I'm going to write b subtract a is equal to 8. So let's actually here, we can cancel out either our b's or our a's. We could times this bottom equation by 5 to get 5b subtract 5a and then cancel out our b's. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to multiply the second equation by 9. So I'm going to times this by 9. So our top equation is 5b plus 9a is equal to 89. And our second equation, whenever you multiply it by 9, we're going to get, instead of b subtract a, we're going to get 9b subtract 9a, and that's equal to, and then 8 times 9 is 72. So I've just multiplied this equation by 9, and that gives us 9b subtract 9a is equal to 72. So we've now got our two equations. We want to cancel the a's, so we're going to add these two equations together, because if we have minus 9a and we add 9a, that gives us 0. So let's write add, and then add our two equations. So 5b plus 9b is 14b. We've got our negative 9a and we're going to add 9a, that's 0, so the a's cancel out. And then we've got 89 plus 72, and 89 plus 72 is 161. So we've got that's equal to 161. Now let's divide both sides by 14, so let's divide by 14 and divide by 14. We're going to get b is equal to 11.5. And we found our b, and at this point here we could just use this information, and if we have a look here, we're trying to find what c is, and the length of c is 20% longer than root b, so we could just increase this by 20% and find the length of c. So we know what b is. B is 11.5 miles, and we're told that c is 20% longer than root b. So in his next month, in May, he's going to do some longer runs. He's doing root c, and root c is 20% longer than this distance. So we need to increase this by 20%. Now it's a calculator question, so we could just take our 11.5 and multiply it by our multiplier. If we increase by 20%, that's the same as multiplying by 1.2. So we could just do 11.5 multiplied by 1.2, and that's equal to 13.8 miles. So that means that c is equal to 13.8 miles using a multiplier. Another way we can do it is we could take our 11.5, so we could do 11.5, divide it by 10 to get 10%, which would be equal to 1.15 miles. We could then double that to get 20%, so double this would be equal to 2.3 miles. So that's 20% is equal to 2.3 miles. And then if we add the 2.3 to 11.5, that's equal to 13.8 miles. And that's it. So we've found the length of root c, and root c is 13.8 miles. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, number 28. Okay, question number 28. So question number 28 says, solve the simultaneous equations 6x plus 2y is equal to 13c, and x plus 2y is equal to negative 2c, where c is a constant. So a constant is just a certain value, and we've been asked to give our answers in terms of c. So these simultaneous equations look a bit different than the ones we've looked at so far, because normally we would just equal a number, where it be, equal to 50 or 20 or 5 or whatever, but here we've got 13c and negative 2c. Now, because we're asked to give our answers in terms of c, we're just going to solve these equations, these simultaneous equations, like we normally do, but instead of them equaling a number, it's going to equal so many lots of c. So it might be that we get x is equal to 8c, or we might get that y is equal to minus a half c, or something like that. Okay, let's have a look at these equations. So let's call this equation 1 and equation 2. And so we've got equation 1 and we've got equation 2, and we want to cancel out either our x's or our y's. And if you have a look here, our y's cancel out quite nicely. If we do equation 1, take away equation 2, that's going to cancel out our y's. So let's write down what we get whenever we do equation 1, take away equation 2. So it's going to be 6x plus 2y, that's our equation 1, is equal to 13c. And then we've got our equation 2, which is equal to x plus 2y is equal to negative 2c. And we want to cancel out these y's, and as we said, if we do equation 1 take away equation 2, it'll cancel out these y's. So 6x take away 1x would be 5x's, so 5x. We've got 2y take away 2y, they cancel out, and then we've got 13c subtract negative 2c, so it's going to be 13c plus 2c, which is equal to 15c. So we've got the 5x is equal to 15c. We don't want 5x, we just want to find x, so we're going to divide by 5 and divide by 5, and we're going to get that x is equal to, and 15c divided by 5, well 15 divided by 5 is 3, so this would be 3c. So that means that x is equal to 3c, so that means that x should be equal to 3c, and we'll check that just to make sure it's right at the end. So we've now found what x is, which is 3c. If we substitute that into either equation 1 or equation 2, we can then find our value for y. Now we could substitute this into equation 1 and we would get 6 times x, and that's 6 times 3c, which would be 18c. So you get 18c plus 2y is equal to 13c, and you could solve that. I'm actually going to use the second equation here because we've got the x is 3c and we've got x plus 2y, so if we could just replace the x with 3c, it would just make it a bit easier. So let's do that. So let's sub x equals 3c into equation number 2, and if we do that, we'd have x plus 2y, so x is 3c, so we've got 3c plus 2y is equal to negative 2c, so negative 2c. And then we just need to solve this, so we want to find out what y is, so let's get rid of this 3c, so take away 3c and take away 3c. On the left hand side, we're taking away 3c to get rid of this 3c, so we'll just be left with 2y. And on the right hand side, we had minus 2c, we're taking away 3c, that's going to be minus 5c. And now we just want to find out what y is. We don't want 2y, so we're going to divide by 2 and divide by 2. And whenever we divide both sides by 2 here, we're going to get on our left hand side just y. Now we could write this in a couple of ways. We've got minus 5c divided by 2. Well, minus 5 divided by 2 is minus 2.5, so that's minus 2.5c. So we've got y is equal to minus 2.5c, or negative 2.5c, and I just write that down, minus 2.5c. So that's one way we could write that. Alternatively, instead of doing minus 5 divided by 2 is minus 2.5, so we could write it as a fraction. So we've got 5 divided by 2, which is 5 halves, so we could write it as minus 5 over 2c, so minus 5 halves c, and that's minus 2.5c, so we could write it that way as well, just write it as a fraction. I tend to pull the negative sign out in front, so rather than writing minus 5 over 2c, I would write it as minus and then 5 over 2c, like so. And that's it. So that's what x is. X is equal to 3c, and y is equal to negative 2.5c. And we've got our values for x and y. And we could check those if we go back up to equation number 1, which was 6x plus 2y is equal to 13c. We could check. So let's check in 1. So that was 6x plus 2y is equal to 13c. So we've got 6x, that's 6 times 3c, and 6 times 3c would be 18c, so we've got 18c, and then we've got plus, and then we've got 2 times y, so that's 2 times minus 2.5c, and double minus 2.5 would be minus 5. If we double minus 2.5, that's minus 5, so this would be minus 5c, so it's minus 5c, and that should hopefully be equal to 13c. If we have a look at this left hand side here, we've got 18c plus minus 5c. When we add a negative, we're subtracting, so we've got 18c take away 5c, which would be 13c. So we've got 13c equals 13c, and that's it. So that's it. So we've solved the simultaneous equations, and our answers are x is equal to 3c and y is equal to minus 2.5c. Okay, let's have a look at our last question, question number 29. Okay, so question number 29 says, shown below is a parallelogram. So we've got our parallelogram here, or our first over a rectangle, and we're told that each side is measured in centimeters. So each side of this parallelogram is measured in centimeters, and we've been asked to work out the perimeter of the parallelogram. So we want to find its perimeter, we want to find the distance around the outside of the parallelogram. So to do that, we're going to have to find out what x is, and we're going to have to find out what y is. Now, like with a rectangle where the opposite sides have got an equal length, a parallelogram, the opposite sides have got an equal length. So the top of the parallelogram will have the same length as the bottom of the parallelogram, and the left hand side of the parallelogram will have the same length as the right hand side of the parallelogram. So let's start off with the left hand side and the right hand side. So we'd have 2x minus 4 is equal to 13 minus y. And I'm just going to rearrange this. I'm going to bring all the letters to one side, so our x's and our y's to the left hand side, and I'm going to bring all the numbers to the right hand side, those constants to the right hand side. So I'm going to add y to both sides, so I'm going to add y and add y. So that would give us 2x minus 4, and then we've got our plus y. And on the right hand side we had 13 take away y. I added y to get rid of that minus y, so we're just left with 13. Now I don't want this minus 4 here, so I'm going to add 4 and add 4. So that would become, on the left hand side we've got 2x plus y, and on the right hand side we had 13 add 4, which would be 17. So we've got our first equation that we're going to use, that 2x plus y is equal to 17. Now if we look at the top and the bottom, we've got that 8x plus 3 is equal to 3y plus 78. So we've got the tops equal to the bottom in terms of the lengths, and then if we bring the letters, the x's and y's, over to the left hand side and the constants over to the right hand side. So let's get rid of this 3y on the right hand side. So let's take away 3y and take away 3y. And so it will give us 8x plus 3, and then we've got our minus 3y. And on the right hand side we had 3y plus 78. We took away the 3y to get rid of the 3y, so we're just left with 78. Now I don't want this plus 3 here, so I'm going to minus 3 and minus 3. So that would give us on the left hand side 8x subtract 3y, because we've got our 8x and our minus 3y here. And the right hand side we'd had 78, we're taking away 3, that's equal to 75. So we've got that 8x subtract 3y is equal to 75. So we've got our two equations, and now we just need to solve these simultaneous equations. And I'm just going to write them above each other here. So we've got our 8x subtract 3y is equal to 75, and then underneath that I'm going to write our 2x plus y is equal to 17. Now we want to cancel out either the x's or the y's. I could multiply the bottom equation by 4, and that would give us 8x plus 4y equals, and so on. And then I could take away the two equations to get rid of the x's. I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by 3, and that would give us, the top equation will stay the same, 8x subtract 3y is equal to 75. And beneath that, so multiplying this bottom equation by 3 would give us 2x times 3 is 6x. We had y, we times it by 3, so it would be plus 3y. And then we had 17 times 3 would be equal to 51. So we've got the 8x subtract 3y is equal to 75, and we've got the 6x plus 3y is equal to 51. Now we want to cancel out the y, so we're going to add these two equations, and when we add these two equations the y's will cancel. So let's do that. So 8x plus 6x is equal to 14x. We had minus 3y and we're adding 3y, that would bring us to 0, so they cancel out. And then we've got 75 plus 51, that's equal to 126. Now we want to find out what x is, so we want to divide by 14, so divide by 14 and divide by 14, and we get that x is equal to 126 divided by 14 is equal to 9, so x is equal to 9. Now let's substitute that into one of our two equations to find y. I'm going to substitute it into the second one here. So we've got that 2x plus y is equal to 17. So we're going to substitute this into our equation. So we've got 2 times x, that's going to be 2 times 9, which is 18, plus y is equal to 17. We want the y on its own, so let's take away 18 and take away 18. So we get that y is equal to, and 17 take away 18 is negative 1. So y is equal to negative 1. So we've got the x equal to 9 and y is equal to negative 1. So we've got our values for x and y, and we want to find the perimeter, so we want to find out the distance around the outside of this parallelogram. So let's substitute these values into our expressions. So we've got 8x, and x is 9. 8 times 9 is 72, plus 3 is 75. So that means that the length of the parallelogram here is 75 centimeters. Now if we have a look at this side, the left hand side, we've got 2 times x, that's 2 times 9, which is 18. Take away 4 would be 14 centimetres. Now, the opposite sides will have the same length, so that means the bottom should be 75 centimetres and the right-hand side should be 14 centimetres as well. Let's just check it. 3 times y, well, y is equal to -1. 3 times -1 is -3. Plus 78 would be 75, so that's 75 centimetres, fantastic. And on the right hand side we have 13 take away y, so we've got 13 take away -1, and 13 take away -1, well minus 1 will be add 1, so 13 add 1 is 14. So we have got the lengths of the top, the bottom, the left hand side and the right hand side, and we just need to add them up to find the perimeter of the parallelogram. So let's do that. So we've got 75 plus 14 plus 75 plus 14. And 75 plus 75 is 150. 14 plus 14 is equal to 28. If we add those together, that'd be 178 centimetres, and that's the perimeter of the parallelogram, and that's it. So these have been the video solutions to the simultaneous equations practice questions. I really hope you found this video useful. If you need any extra help on simultaneous equations, if you go to corbettmaths.com/contents and scroll down to video number 295, there's a video tutorial there on solving simultaneous equations. I really hope you found this video useful. If you have found it useful, could you please like it and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.